All right, everybody. Thanks so much for stopping by another live episode of Real Estate Titans, sponsored by Lion Bolt Media. I'm your host, Greg Fowler, traveling throughout the marketplace, interviewing the top real estate professionals in our field, essentially gathering insight, inspiration. It really drives and motivates these top producers above and beyond everybody else in what I'd like to consider a real estate titan. Now, our very special guest and featured item today, all the way from Summit County, Colorado, none other than Amy Nakos. Amy, it's an honor and a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for taking the time.
I'm honored to be here, Greg. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to just dive into a series of questions. You and I just having an incredible conversation and sharing it with the Titan Nation out there, really what makes you tick and the decisions that you've made in your life and your career up to this point, Amy. So without further ado, let's just go into the series of questions. First one being, telling everybody just a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, what got you into the business, and where you are today.
Absolutely. So my name is Amy Nakos. I currently live in Frisco, Colorado. By way of a farm on Nebraska, I was raised a farm girl, and went to undergraduate in Iowa at a small college in Storm Lake called Buena Vista, and then I went to law school at the University of Iowa. So I have an active law license, but I do call myself a recovering attorney right now. So
That's great.
I practiced law in Chicago for about 5 years. And then my husband and I got married, had a child, and decided to move to the mountains of Colorado. So I've been here since 2003. How did I get into real estate? Yeah. Well, as an attorney, you can get your real estate license without going to school, without going to real estate school. Mm-hmm. You just have to take the test. So when I was in Illinois, I did that. I thought, yeah, I'll get my real estate license. And around that same time, I read the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. I think it came out around that time. Okay. And I even have a copy of it. It's tattered, torn. This is it. This is the copy.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I know. So my husband and I both read that book, and it kind of changed the way we thought about how are we going to live our lives, build wealth. And we both decided that real estate was going to be a large part of how we were going to live our lives and build wealth. And this was in our late 20s. I just turned 49. So
congrats.
I've been doing it for 20 years. Yeah. So we decided, well, we're both going to get our real estate license and we'll invest in real estate. That was step one. And from there, I ended up, I would say, falling into real estate. It sort of captured me as opposed to me saying, oh, I've always wanted to be a real estate broker. So we came to Frisco, Colorado, and bought a building out of foreclosure that we managed, and then built a fourplex, which I live in one of the units right now. So I sold the other three, started working for the builder, got a bunch of clients from that. And that was the beginning of my real estate career. And that was in 2006.
Unreal.
Yeah.
And Amy, I love that story. I want to rewind on it just a little bit, because going from, the windy city, right? Chicago, Illinois, to Colorado and on the Western slopes, what was the thought behind that originally? I mean, being an attorney, going from there to here, what was the process and the move? I'm just curious.
Yeah. I mean, everybody says that. Everybody says that's such a crazy, dramatic move. So to have a little more background, growing up in Nebraska, I used to vacation in Breckenridge. My uncle had a condo here. Okay. And my husband actually lived in Silverthorne when he finished college, working for a company up here. We both were then in Chicago and had that in common. The really long backstory to it is our realtor in Chicago. We weren't realtors at the time. We weren't in the real estate. I was an attorney, and my husband was running a wine business. Wow. And she calls us up and says, hey, I have this condo at Copper Mountain and I want to sell it. Do you guys want to buy it? I'll sell it to you for what I bought it for, because I want to buy something in Chicago. And we went, okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's how we ended up in Summit County. We had a condo at Copper Mountain. And when we decided to move up here, which was almost 2 years later, we didn't buy a house. We moved into this little teeny condo that we lived in for 3 years.
Wow.
Had 2 children there. Yeah, it was crazy.
Unreal. I mean, I love that story though in the background, because the way that people make a decision to relocate, and the locations that they do, and especially so drastically different, but you both have backgrounds and understanding of Colorado.
Mhm.
And I don't know, maybe hopefully I'm not speaking for you or any other Coloradans that are here, but it's incredibly beautiful here. And where you live in particular, I mean, you're right in it. You're in the mountains. So
We're steps from hiking trails. And I think that we made a decision. We lived in Chicago and then moved to the suburbs. And we made a decision shortly into our suburban life that this was not it didn't mesh with our lifestyle. We wanted to just be outdoors and just have that. My husband's a big cyclist. I love to hike. And so we just said, if we don't do it now, we're never going to do it. So we did it when we were young. We just picked up and we moved to where we wanted to be. And we looked in the Denver metro area too. But really we ended up saying, well, we have this condo, let's just move into it. And we never left Summit County. And it was the best decision we made because we love it here, and we've been able to establish our lives and our business. I mean, I built my business up here from scratch, nothing, knew nobody, nothing.
Let's go into that, Amy, because that's important too, because we got to that point. You're here in Colorado, real estate transition. You've done so much in your career. So let's talk about the beginning to where you're at now. I think that's really important.
Sure. I mean, we started off, I've always worked on my own. So I call myself somewhat of a maverick in that regard. I'm not a real corporate person. So gotcha. I did look at the bigger brokerages up here and going to work for them. And I really felt like I wanted autonomy. I like autonomy and freedom, and I like to do things the way I want to do it. So what did I do? I started my own company. That's what I did. I'm going to do it myself. And we started, it was called Landmark Real Estate Group. We actually still have that company.
What a great name.
Really what I started with was, I'm a relationship builder. I talk to people. I'm very social. I meet people. So I started with one client who owned the condo across the hallway. Can you help me? Sure. That was the first thing. And then just started to meet more people up here and establish myself as a real estate professional. But the thing that really kicked off my career was we developed a 4-unit townhome. Right. And I still live in one. I mentioned that earlier. And then I needed to sell the other 3. So those were 3 amazing listings that I had. And it got me to meet the brokerage community. It got me out there. It, back then, this would have been in 2006. Wow. So we didn't have as much social platforms, right. It was mostly just MLS and putting a sign in the yard and
right.
throwing some flyers in. But it helped to establish my real estate career. I then went on to work for the builder and do more and more of his sales. But then when you have those listings, you then get buyers who come in, and maybe your property doesn't work for that buyer, but you can help them to find something else.
Sure.
So that's what started my career. And we built up the brokerage. At one point, I think we had 10 or 11 brokers. Whoa. And then the recession hit.
Okay.
And so I'm in a resort market, and we can talk about that. We can go down that direction if you want. But the resort market differs pretty dramatically from a primary residence market. So what we saw was, we didn't see a lot of foreclosures. We had some. Most of our buyers are very financially able to maintain their properties. But we ended up, things hit the skids when we couldn't get loans anymore. Our market really started to tank in 12, 13, and the bottom was probably 2013. Wow. But during that time, and everything works out for a reason, right? Sure. The brokers ended up disbanding, kind of doing their own things. And everybody's, back doing well again, which is great. But that I was building my career, and then that happened. And that
Ouch.
was a time where I said, I really got into more personal development. I took the time to say, I can either be really defeated by this. I can feel like, my life is over, or my career is over, or we can start to do things to just better yourself.
Sure.
And I think it was during that time, and based on other things I had done before with reading and personal development, that I think I developed the capacity to become the top producer that I am today.
I love
Because
that.
you can't just show up
Mhm.
and be a top producer. You have to have the right mental attitude. You have to have the right stamina. You have to have the right capacity
Sure.
to be able to do that. So that's what I did during the recession. And then what I would say has allowed me to continue to build my business is just great relationships, staying in touch with people, having the right help. I have some good people on my team, but the one thing I do that has been incredibly successful is, for the past, I'm going to say 10 years, I write a monthly newsletter.
Very cool.
And I write it from scratch.
Hmm.
And I don't take canned information. I write it from scratch. I include information about me and my family and the market and my listings. And I've had people, I closed a deal last year. He'd been on my list for 10 years.
Whoa.
I got a call yesterday from a woman who just says, I've been reading your newsletter for 2 years and I just love who you are. So that's what I do. I put who I am into a monthly message, and my list is about 800 people. So it's like I'm having a conversation every month with 800 people.
And Amy, the fact that you're addressing that, to me, is crucially important, because so many people try to get away from the fundamentals or the basics of business and relationships. And you obviously don't, but you don't just go to the generalization of touch points. You're looking at it to be very custom, it's not a template. It's not some generic information that everybody has access to. It's coming from your heart and your head. And what a wonderful way to connect with people in a very forward thinking way, and a consistency. 10 years, Amy. I mean, think about that. That's insane. Most people can't do something for 10 days, let alone 10 years. So
I know. There are times, though, where I think, it's the end of the month already. How is it possible that I have to write another newsletter?
Oh my gosh.
That's how fast time goes. But it's that is what I can say is probably my best secret to success. I don't have a killer CRM system, and I don't have, a lot of people have all these different things. I don't have a big national brokerage, right? I have a great local regional brokerage that I love, but that has been my secret to success. And it works.
My gosh. I love it. And again, no need to overcomplicate it or reinvent the wheel. And, I think it's a Tony Robbins quote, but success leaves breadcrumbs, or success leaves a trail, something like that. And I think that just the consistency and heavy amounts of consistent work, right? And just putting that time in and effort is really going to get it done. But I mean, Amy, you're doing so many different things. Before I ask you kind of the next series of questions in this, I want to just ask you about a project that you're working on in Frisco. And because you're doing so much, but I would love to share a little bit about that, because your mind is in a completely different place. And I just want everybody to know that. So what's going on with the project and development in Frisco, Colorado?
We just launched this last week. So we are building 5 townhomes in Frisco. They're a couple blocks off of Main Street. So anybody who knows Frisco, Colorado, we're just a quaint mountain town. It was an old mining town back in the days. So we have a very lovely little main street with shopping and dining. We're 5 miles from Copper, 9 miles to Breckenridge, close to Keystone A Basin. So we're in a world-class ski resort community, but we've really become a year-round destination. So we have hiking, biking, we've got the marina, but the townhomes that we're building, 5 of them, 2 freestanding structures and then a triplex, 2 blocks from Frisco Main Street. So you have really great walkability. The other thing that's really cool about them, I think, and I don't know this 100% for sure, but Frisco and Summit County passed a new energy efficiency code that
wow.
everybody had to comply with if you pulled a permit after July of last year. And I think we might be one of the first townhome projects that have to comply with this energy efficiency code. So it
Wow.
means that our units are going to be just incredibly energy efficient. Your energy costs are going to be very, very low.
Wow.
And we'll have electric car chargers.
Awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of great features that they're going to have. They all have rooftop decks. So you have 360-degree views of the surrounding mountains, and the views are drop dead gorgeous.
Wow.
So it's exciting and it's fun. So that project is called Storm King Mountain Homes. Storm King Mountain Homes. Storm King comes from the Palmolift at Copper Mountain. It's called Storm King.
Very cool. And I love that, Amy, the fact that your depth and breadth of knowledge is so deep. And you know, what's really fascinating to me, and we didn't really talk about this. Before I move forward, I do want to move back all the way back. And I should have asked you this at the beginning, but I was so curious as to why you moved from Chicago to here. But originally, when you were going down your path as an attorney, what was your thought process there? Because I do want people to know a little bit about why you got into that, because we didn't discuss it. I missed the question, so I apologize, but
it's okay. I'm a self-proclaimed nerd. So I did really well in school.
Yeah, love that. That's great.
I mean, to even go back further, if I was bored at home on the farm, I'd read the encyclopedias. That's what I am. So
You're the best.
I know. I'm book smart, and I like reading and learning things. So I got good grades. I got a full ride scholarship to undergrad. What do you do with that? And when you're terrible at science and math like me, you can't be a doctor. You can't go down these traditional fields of what do people who do well in school do? I don't think so. So I ended up in undergrad, I was an English speech communication major, and then just went on to the next natural step, which was law school. Did well in law school. But here's the thing. And this is where I want to talk about flow. We talked about this before.
For sure.
How do you find what you're really good at? Because I think when you're 19, 20, 22, and you're choosing a career and you're in school, you may not have really explored who you are and what your strengths are. And you're just going down a path because you think it might be the right thing to do. So I didn't really think through that carefully, that attorneys are high detail. High in front of computers, a lot of reading, a lot of in-depth analysis. And while I'm pretty good at that, I'm actually better at networking.
Love it. Yeah.
Okay, so in my law firm, I was an okay attorney. I got okay reviews, but I literally got bonuses for bringing in clients.
Wow.
They were kind of like, I don't know who that associate is, but she can bring in clients. And that's what I was good at.
That's awesome.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
So, and now if you're, 20 years later, 25 years later, I can say, what I wish I would have known back then is, could somebody have done a personality test on me? Could we have just done the Myers-Briggs or whatever?
Right.
And maybe we could have saved, I probably still would have, I will never trade law school. And my experience, it has helped me with everything I do. But when I got into that job in that law firm, it became clear that I was okay at it, but I wasn't in flow. I didn't love it. I wasn't doing what I came here to do. And then when I got out, when I left the law firm, which was, in part because I had a baby and it was, I just couldn't make it all work. But I started to dabble in real estate, and I thought, now this is where I can bring my networking, because as a realtor, you're the center of the wheel.
Oh, for sure.
And all the spokes come out. You're the first point of contact. You need to have a plumber, and you need to have daycare, and you need to know about the schools, and you better know where the best hamburger is, and you better. And I'm already good at that. So it helped me to, when I met with new people, I mean, I just could make their transition smooth because that's my natural style.
Yeah.
So transitioning from law to here, it worked out that way, but I didn't script it. I didn't say it's time for me to transition because I'm better at this. It over time, things just happen. And then you start to find, how do I best operate? I mean, when I was managing broker of the brokerage, I was not, that wasn't the best use of my skills.
Gotcha.
I was better at doing the sales than I was the management. But it was after you go through that and you learn and you say, oh, I'm better at this than that. So
I love it, Amy. And again, I didn't mean to throw off our flow conversation, but I think that I'm so glad that you mentioned that. You being a book smart, a bookworm, and a fellow nerd, I love that. And the fact that you applied your knowledge as an attorney, but as you mentioned, you don't regret it, and you use everything that you do every day. There's pieces of your past that are kind of, ripple affecting into what you're doing. And you wouldn't be the person you are today without going through that process. And I just think that it's incredible that you've identified what you love, what you don't like, what you feel very confident and accelerating in, and stuff that you don't necessarily want to do and serve the client. So I think all that comes into play into your life, and everybody can take that as perspective. And this is why I love, Titans, is because everybody has a different path, a different walk, a different perspective, but there's so many different ways to reach those successful heights. And I want to transition into this because I know there's so much that you can share, and you've dropped already nuggets as it was into lifestyle change and moving and decisions. But Amy, this question is for the audience. At the end of the day, if you could look back at your career, and any career path for that matter, whether it's, real estate or anything else, if you could pick or pinpoint one or two things that you added or implemented or just applied to your life that really moved the needle for growth, that you saw a shift or change, what's that look like for you? What advice would you give anybody listening or watching?
Okay, the first thing that comes to mind, because I always think it's the first thing that comes to mind that you have to bring. So 2020 for resort real estate, and really real estate all over, was unprecedented. So from 2019 to 2020, I doubled my volume.
Wow.
And it got to the point where it was just too much. And I have a hard time letting go of things. I'm sure many listeners understand this, right? Yes. Don't really love to delegate. Don't feel like anybody can do it as good as I can. And I brought on, in the last couple years, I brought on a marketing partner to do my marketing pieces. Her name's Sonia. She's fantastic. Cool. That then got taken off my plate. So now I was not having to create marketing content. Number two, I brought on a new transaction coordinator. And I've always had a transaction coordinator. I've had a transaction coordinator for many years. I transitioned to a new one, and she's just on top of that portion of my life. So I don't have to do the files, or, I manage, I maintain and make sure they're correct, but was able to pull that off my plate. And I just a month ago hired a new executive assistant, Jennifer, who is saving my life. But it was the hardest thing I've ever done. I have a business coach, Dawn, who told me I needed to do it. My husband told me I needed to do it. And I resisted because I thought it might slow me down. I thought I'm going to lose integrity. I'm going to lose control. And it's turned out to be a huge blessing. I've freed up. My goal was to free up 10 hours a week, and I've already done that.
Oh, unreal.
It's amazing. So I'm probably even closer to 15, 20, getting up to 20 hours a week.
Wow.
That's the thing that was really hard for me to overcome. Some people are great at delegating. I'm not.
Right.
Just not. So that would be the main thing I would say, is finally relinquishing some of my control and allowing other people to help me. Because they're really better. The marketing person, Sonia's way better at marketing than I am.
Sure.
Kara can manage my files way better than I can. Jennifer handling scheduling and all the details way better than I am. And it's letting me go out and do the networking and what I do where I'm good. I mean, other than that, I think the other thing would just be law school. Probably the hardest thing I've ever done career-wise is getting through law school and doing, I did very well in law school. And there were times I just wanted to quit. It was hard, you know, and I'm so glad I did that. It's something that I always will have. And it's something that was a huge accomplishment. And when I look at things and analyze things now, I have a different skill set. I approach things a bit differently, but I will be honest with you. I still hire attorneys for things.
I love it. I love it. But Amy, the way you mentioned that, I think is crucially important for anybody. It doesn't matter where you are in your career path. If you're newer in the business or you're a seasoned pro, is looking at the highest and best uses of your time and being able to leverage, being able to delegate certain activities that are taking you away from your highest and best uses. And when you mention 10 hours, 15 hours, 20 hours, huge. Yeah, that's huge.
It's huge. Last year, I would spend my evenings on my computer just catching up. And now that's getting done during the day. It's getting done on time.
Yeah.
And so but it's a jump. I didn't have a background where I was an employer. I didn't have a background where I managed people. I've always been, I guess, a solopreneur, which is why I call myself a maverick too. So if people out there who have managed other people before or understand how to best delegate, they might have a much easier time saying, oh yeah, I have this person doing this and this person doing this. But for me, because I had grown it from zero to what it was, everything felt like it was mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that though. When you're mentioning it, and there's so many other people that are listening to us right now that are saying, yes, I know what she's going through. I know what she's been through. I've seen these different changes in life. And before we went live, we were chatting a little bit about this topic, and I thought was brilliant. And you were alluding to growth and change into your life and your career. And for me, in the thought process is the person that you were 5 years ago is a completely different person than you are today in the way you think about things, maybe the way you analyze or conduct yourself or attack a certain project, because you're evolving as a person and a professional if you're doing it the right way. And that's how you grow. And I just think that mindset, because you had mentioned mindset, and I would love for you to chat a little bit about that, anything that comes to mind, because I think that everybody out there needs to understand, yes, you can read books, you can listen to podcasts, but it's all about having that open mind and then applying that knowledge and put it to work. But what are your thoughts on that through your life?
That's a great question. I think that I'm all about accountability and personal responsibility. So talk to my kids about that, right? Where I don't want to hear an excuse. It's nobody else's fault. It all comes down to you. So start that as a baseline. If it's going to be, it's up to me. So there's that. And then there's this great book out there. It's called The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. I don't have it in front of me right now because I've given all my copies away. I buy them and I give them away and I give them away. But the basic premise of the book, The Slight Edge, is you don't have these huge jumps in growth, and you don't just wake up one morning and you're a success. Success is the small little decisions you make every day. And the little decisions you make every day can lead you up or they can lead you down. You can think about, should I have an extra Oreo or not? Right. In the moment, the Oreo doesn't mean much, but after days and days and days, maybe you're pre-diabetic or you're overweight, whatever. That's just a silly example.
Sure.
The same thing goes with the positive. Could I spend my time just scrolling social media, or should I read a book? Should I make that one extra phone call? Should I call my mom? Whatever. And so that's if you can use that as your basis to say the small decisions I make every day are going to lead to my future success. And then you have to combine that, in my opinion, this is just what I do,
Yeah.
but combine that with, I almost want to say, a belief or a capacity for success. So if you don't believe you have what it takes to be successful, or you don't believe, oh, I'll never make $1 million. I'll never do more than 50 transactions a year. I'll never be number one. Then you won't. So, but you can't just turn that on. You can't just turn that switch. You have to actually lead yourself in your mental growth and your mental capacity to be able to accept that you are capable, deserving, and able to do it. And how did I do that? A lot of books, a lot of meditation, a lot of things. And that's a whole different podcast, probably for a different channel, right?
No, this is great. This is great.
If we want to get into those specifics, I'll start, showing you all the books and stuff. But it's really about changing limiting beliefs you have about yourself, and things you've been told and things you've been taught, to expand who you are. I mean, I think Brendan Burchard is one of the leaders in this.
For sure.
And I love listening to him about how you can have a growth mindset and be really effective and efficient.
Yeah.
I don't know if I answered the question or if I just talked a whole lot.
You did. No, Amy, seriously, you did, because you're looking at it from an abundance or a healthy spot. It's that Henry Ford quote, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Yeah.
And you have to set those boundaries or expectations into your life, as you're stating. And I find that so many of us, as we go through life and we're surrounded by other people, there's a level of guilty by association. So the saturation of our mind and our willpower tends to be based off of our environment. So if you're just latching on to those that are around you that are not big thinkers, that are not looking at how far can I push life? What are the biggest levels and places that I could go? If that's not your surrounding every day, it's going to be very difficult for you to just grow up that way. You have to be very intentional with the direction that you're going, as you're saying. And you're right, you'll never get there if you don't think it. And it's that other haiku or mantra, shoot for the moon and land among the stars, right? If you didn't set it there, you'd never even come close. And I just love it.
You just have to inch up those goals as and always celebrate. The thing I found too is I don't really celebrate, I'll hit the goal and be like, okay, next. Rather than saying, wow, that was really good.
I love that.
You worked for 5 years to get that, and you did. And I think that's a lot of people who maybe look at real estate from the outside in, they see the shows on HGTV. And I know you've had many of these people on your show.
Yes.
And it's you wear great outfits and you go into these beautiful mansions and you sell these multi-million-dollar homes. But there's so much that goes into the background of growing this business, being in this business. And most people don't see that.
They don't.
And so, and you embrace that, and then you just continue to build on it. But I also wanted to mention there's this saying, I don't know who said it, but you are the compilation of the 5 people you hang out with the most.
Yeah, so true.
And so it is about being very intentional about who you surround yourself with. And you want to be with people who bring out the best in you, not those who bring you down or have small minds of what life is about. And so that's what my husband and I have done for many years. It's just really trying to associate ourselves with the big thinkers and the people who are really shooting for the moon, like you said. And it works.
Yeah. It does, Amy. And again, I am so glad and honored that you took the time to be on the show, because I know that you're amongst so many incredible people that are really pushing those boundaries and setting those expectations for what true professionals should, look to aspire to, and giving a perspective to the consumer to say, hey, it's not all, sunshine and roses. There's a lot of hard work and things. All the preparation happens, behind closed doors, and to show up and shine. It's all the prep. And again, you're just a shining example as far as I'm concerned, Amy, when it comes down to it. But before we wrap anything up, is there any other closing remarks, anything else you want to mention, or you feel like we nailed this one?
I mean, I think we did a great job.
I love it. I would agree.
Thank you. I want to thank you for creating this platform, because what an amazing way to be able to have all of the different perspectives from real estate in one place where people can go and just experience how 232 different people, for episode 232,
Yeah.
232 different people have gotten to where they've gotten, because it's not a straight path. It's always a crooked path, and it's always an individual journey. So
I love it. And Amy, I can't thank you enough. It was an absolute honor and pleasure. And again, for you sharing your story with the Titan Nation, I have to dub you an official real estate Titan. That's a badge of honor that you can wear forever. That goes with you. No one can take it away. There's no trophy, there's no plaque, but it's in your heart. You know that it's there.
I have it in my heart now. Thank you.
It's there. But thanks again, Amy. And thank you out there for your time and attention. As always, your love and support. If you like hearing what we're doing with Real Estate Titans, don't forget to like, subscribe. You know what to do at this point. I have to give our sponsor a quick shout out, Lionbolt Media. If you are in real estate and you're looking to grow and scale your business on the digital end, visit lionboltmedia.com. They got a free mini course inside there. Now, we are live on Real Estate Titans every Tuesday afternoon. A different Titan, a different location. We'll catch everybody in the next live episode of Real Estate Titans. Take care. Thanks, Amy.